Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated to a medieval Pokémon world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 211. Miltank adapted far more quickly than Lucian had expected. With no natural predators, steady care from human ranchers, and Lucian's deliberate attempts to pair them with Tauros, the Miltank at Moo Farm laid 3 eggs by the second week after arriving in Lucian City. Your Majesty Lucian, a Moo Farm worker reported respectfully, aside from the mother of these 3 eggs, the other Miltank have not had any further contact with the Tauros. Lucian nodded thoughtfully. Could it be that Pokémon also practiced a form of monogamy? If so, he would need to introduce other Pokémon from the same egg group to encourage breeding. Miltank belonged to the field egg group. And fortunately, the Unova region had no shortage of field egg group Pokémon. I understand. You may leave, Lucian said calmly. Yes, Your Majesty. The worker bowed and withdrew from the throne room. Just then, Elif entered in haste, followed by a young messenger Lucian had previously dispatched to other towns to promote Pokémon and trainer culture. Your Majesty Lucian, Elif said, this messenger has something important to report. Lucian turned his gaze toward the young man. Speak. The messenger bowed deeply. Reporting to Your Majesty, in Anvil Town I discovered humans who look nearly identical to one another, much like Miss Joy and her family. They call themselves Jenny, and they have formed an organization known as the Thunder Roar Gang. Lucian froze for a moment. Jenny? Humans identical in appearance, just like the Joy family? Jenny had finally appeared. His spirits immediately lifted. Go on. Tell me everything. Yes, Your Majesty. The messenger continued, following your instructions, I went to the town with Roserade to promote Pokémon and trainer culture. This caught the attention of the local organization, the Thunder Roar Gang. That night, members of the gang approached me and asked many questions about you, Lucian City, and the Joy sisters. I told them that His Majesty Lucian is a great king who abolished slavery, distributed land to the people, accepted the Joys when they were feared and ostracized, and entrusted them with work at the Pokémon centers, changing how society viewed them. After hearing this, the Jenny said nothing and left. Lucian listened carefully. Later, the messenger continued, I investigated the Thunder Roar Gang further. Their leader is a woman named Jenny Ray. She is extremely capable. Anvil Town once had many competing gangs, but after Jenny Ray appeared, she crushed them all and unified the streets under the Thunder Roar Gang. Lucian felt conflicted. In this era, Officer Jenny had become a gang leader? The contrast was striking. But, the messenger added quickly, this gang is different. Although the townspeople fear them, they do not resent or reject them. Instead, many quietly support them. The Thunder Roar Gang never bullies civilians. On the contrary, they secretly protect the townspeople, help parents find lost children, and deliver food to families who cannot afford enough to eat. Oh? Lucian's interest was piqued. As expected of Jenny family. If humans had abilities like Pokémon, Lucian suspected that Jenny's ability would be justified, just like Growlithe. What is Jenny Ray's attitude toward us? Lucian asked. The messenger replied, she wishes to meet you. Meet me? Lucian raised an eyebrow. Where is she now? In Anvil Town. However, Jenny Ray said that if Your Majesty is willing, she will personally bring the other Jennies to Lucian City. Lucian nodded thoughtfully. Is the Pokémon flying taxi service connected to Anvil Town? Yes, Your Majesty. I returned to Lucian City by flying taxi. The messenger's face was filled with awe. It was incredibly convenient. In that case, Lucian said decisively, have them come to the royal city. Yes, Your Majesty. The messenger bowed and immediately departed, boarding a flying taxi bound for Anvil Town. After he left, Lucien returned to his study and unfolded a map. He soon located Anvil Town on the western border of Unova. It was remote, far from Lucien City. Even by flying taxi, the journey would take some time. It would be a while before Jenny Ray arrived. Taking advantage of the gap, Lucien went to check on the Growlite he had brought back from Cameron Palace. They were currently stationed at the Lucien City Police Department. Over the past 2 days, they had already begun assisting officers with their keen sense of smell. Public security in Lucien City was excellent. Violent crimes were nearly non-existent. However, cases of theft and lost items still occurred from time to time. In an era without fingerprint analysis or surveillance cameras, Growlite were invaluable. When Lucien arrived at the police station, he saw a group of Growlite gathered around an officer holding poke blocks. They spun in circles excitedly, tails wagging furiously. "All right, line up." "One at a time," the officer said with a laugh. The Growlite immediately formed a neat line, obediently taking their poke blocks one by one and eating them happily. At that moment, a female officer noticed Lucien. She froze, then hurriedly straightened and exclaimed, "His Majesty Lucien." "No need to be nervous." Lucien shook his head gently, his gaze shifting toward the Growlite. "I came to see them." Hearing Lucien's voice, the Growlite who were eating poke blocks all looked up at once. They immediately recognized him. Several of them perked up, tails wagging excitedly. Woof woof! Compared to their time in Cameron Palace, the Growlite loved this new home. There were many Pokémon here, plenty of activity, and, most importantly, lots of delicious food. Just like the poke blocks they had just eaten. "Hello, Growlite," Lucien greeted them with a smile. "Woof woof," the Growlite replied enthusiastically. "How is their training progressing?" Lucien asked. The female officer straightened instinctively. "Reporting to Your Majesty, we've carried out specialized training according to your instructions." She glanced at the Growlite beside her, unable to hide her admiration. "They're extremely intelligent Pokémon. Many commands only need to be taught once before they fully understand and respond correctly. And more than that," she added, "they're very obedient. They rarely disobey orders." Lucien nodded calmly. He wasn't surprised. There was a reason Growlite became the partners and symbols of Officer Jenny in later eras. Loyal, intelligent, brave, and guided by an innate sense of justice. "Growlite," Lucien said softly, drawing their attention. "Tomorrow, I will introduce you to your partners." Woof! Some of the Growlite tilted their heads in confusion. "They are people just like you," Lucien continued. "They also possess hearts of justice. I believe you will like them." Woof woof? The Growlite grew even more curious. "You'll understand when you meet them," Lucien said with a faint smile. "They are people who, even when despised by the world, never turned to evil. Instead, they chose to protect the weak." The Growlite exchanged glances, ears twitching. Just what kind of people were these? Lucien offered no further explanation, only smiling quietly. "You'll see them soon. Anvil Town." The moment the messenger from Lucien City stepped off the flying taxi, he headed straight for the Thunder Roar Gang's headquarters. There, he once again met the woman known for her iron will and overwhelming presence. Jenny Ray. Seated at the head of the room, she radiated authority. The scar across her face only added to her fierce aura. The messenger bowed slightly. "Miss Jenny, I have delivered your request to His Majesty Lucien." "Oh?" Jenny Ray asked calmly. "And what did this king say?" "His Majesty is willing to meet you," the messenger replied. "He invites you and the other Jennies to Lucien City, where he will personally receive you." "Big sister." The other Jennies stirred immediately, turning their gazes toward Jenny Ray with expressions full of emotion. "What should we do?" one of them asked. She did not answer right away. Her eyes lowered, sweeping over the sisters around her. All of them bore the same face. Not long ago, a Joy had been sent from Lucian City to work at the Pokémon Center in Anvil Town. At first, people had feared that Joy. But over time, she healed injuries, treated sick Pokémon, and showed nothing but kindness. Gradually, the townspeople accepted her. Jenny Ray had quietly visited the Pokémon Center herself. She had spoken to that Joy. From her, Jenny Ray learned that the Joy family now worked openly under Lucian's rule, serving at Pokémon centers across the land. They held respected positions. Their reputation among the people was steadily improving. They no longer had to hide. They could finally live with dignity. As the leader of the Jenny family, she did not want her sisters to remain in the shadows, isolated and misunderstood. She wanted them to walk the same path as the Joys. To live openly. To live honorably. Her decision was already made. And it wasn't just for herself. She would represent all the Jennies of the Thunder Gang and go to Lucian City to meet that new king, using this opportunity to bring the Jennies into the normal world. "I will go to Lucian City," Jenny Ray said to the messenger. "Big sister, I'll go with you. We're going too. Share blessings, share hardships. No matter what happens, we'll face it together with you, big sister." The Jennies below spoke with firm voices, their gazes fixed unwaveringly on their leader. Seeing this, the messenger smiled and spoke gently. "His Majesty has already arranged flying Pokémon taxis for all of you. If we depart now, we'll arrive in Lucian City before nightfall. Big sister, look. We're really flying through the sky." One of the Jennies stared at the scenery below, her voice filled with shock and excitement. Jenny Ray felt the same astonishment in her heart. Was this mode of transportation also created by that king? "This is only one of His Majesty's many innovations," the messenger said from the side, his tone filled with genuine admiration. "His Majesty Lucian is the greatest treasure the heavens have bestowed upon us." Jenny Ray was momentarily stunned. If it weren't for His Majesty, the messenger continued reverently, the kingdom of Eindhoven would still be engulfed in war. It was His Majesty Lucian who ended the chaos and saved us. Anvil Town lay near the border and had not suffered greatly from the conflict, but recalling the reports in the newspapers and the drastic changes in people's lives, Jenny Ray found herself agreeing with his words. That king truly must be extraordinary. At 4 in the afternoon, the flying taxis carrying the Jennies arrived in Lucian City. Before landing, cries of amazement rang out. "Big sister, look! This city is enormous. I've never seen a city this big before. There are so many magical beasts, no, Pokémon. This place is so lively and prosperous." The flying taxis descended slowly. Jenny Ray took in the sights below, shock plain on her face. Clean streets, orderly buildings, and humans living side by side with Pokémon in warm harmony. Even the former royal capital of Eindhoven had never displayed such vitality. "Everyone," the messenger said with a smile, "His Majesty Lucian is already waiting for you at the castle. After your audience, I will personally guide you on a tour of Lucian City." Jenny Ray took a steady breath, suppressed her astonishment, and nodded. Then, leading her sisters, she followed the messenger toward the castle. Chapter 212, Jenny Joins. The First Gym. The Jennies had never imagined that one day they would step into the kingdom's royal castle and stand before its king. As they gazed at the towering castle ahead, awe and unease mixed in their hearts. The massive stone walls rose like an unreachable mountain, exuding an overwhelming sense of authority. For people from a remote place like Anvil Town, concepts such as the royal city and the king felt impossibly distant, almost unreal. "Big sister. I'm a little nervous," one of the Jennies whispered. Jenny Ray lifted her gaze to the castle gates. She took a deep breath, steadying the emotions surging in her chest. Then, without hesitation, she stepped forward and subtly positioned herself in front of her sisters, shielding them like a solid wall. "Stay close behind me," Jenny Ray said calmly. The Jennies nodded and followed her, one after another. Led by the envoy, they passed through the towering gates and entered the castle proper. Soon, they arrived at the grand throne room. A long crimson carpet stretched from the entrance to the far end of the hall. At its end stood a majestic throne. And seated upon it, a young man. The moment they entered, every Jenny's gaze was drawn irresistibly toward him. "Greetings, Your Majesty." The envoy immediately dropped to one knee in salute. Startled, the Jennies quickly followed suit, kneeling on the carpet. "His Majesty." "Lucien," Jenny Ray said, her voice steady despite the tension in her heart. "Rise." The voice from the throne was calm, its tone unreadable. The envoy rose first, and the Jennies stood as well. Some of them kept their heads lowered, not daring to look up. Some stole cautious glances toward the throne. Others were so nervous that cold sweat soaked their palms. Jenny Ray, as the leader of the Thunder Gang, forced herself to remain composed, waiting for the king to speak. But the man on the throne seemed to have seen through their unease. A soft chuckle echoed through the hall. "There's no need to be nervous," Lucien said, his voice gentler now, carrying a faint smile. "You are all my subjects. And what you did was merely an act of survival." Jenny Ray froze slightly, then slowly raised her head. Her eyes met his. "You must be their leader," Lucien said. "Reporting to Your Majesty," Jenny Ray replied without hesitation, "I am Jenny Ray, the big sister of these Jennies." Lucien nodded. "Very good. Founding the Thunder Gang on your own, leading a group rejected by the world, and carving out a place to live in Anvil Town, this is no small feat. You are capable. Admirable." Even Jenny Ray couldn't help but feel taken aback. Before coming here, she had imagined countless outcomes: interrogation, rejection, suspicion, but she had never expected this. The Jennies behind her stared in disbelief. "What surprises me even more," Lucien continued slowly, "is that even in such circumstances, you never chose the path of evil. Instead, you protected the weak to the best of your ability." Jenny Ray's lips parted slightly. She hadn't expected the king to know even this much. "No matter how much they feared us, those people never harmed us," Jenny Ray said quietly. A distant look crossed her face. She remembered their first days in Anvil Town, cold, hungry, penniless. It had been a kind-hearted girl who gave them food when they had nothing. So later, they formed the Thunder Gang, drove out the other gangs, and placed the entire town under their protection. That was their way of repaying that kindness. Lucien listened and smiled faintly. "Your strength and sense of justice shouldn't be wasted," he said. "They belong in a better place. I have a task I wish to entrust to you. One that will allow you, just like Nurse Joy, to change how the world sees you. To live openly, freely, and with dignity." At those words, a fierce light ignited in Jenny Ray's eyes. The Jennies behind her felt it too. This was exactly why they had come. "Your Majesty Lucien," Jenny Ray said, dropping to one knee without hesitation, "please help us. The Jenny family is willing to serve you from this day forward." "Big sister," the others cried out. Jenny Ray's expression was unwavering. She wanted every sister behind her to stand in the sunlight, no longer feared, no longer cast aside. Lucien looked pleased. He paused, then asked, "Have you heard of a police station?" "Police station?" Jenny Ray blinked. Her thoughts immediately turned to the newly built structure in Anvil Town, the place where officers handled cases, arrested criminals, patrolled the streets, and maintained order. Since its establishment, the town's safety had improved dramatically. "Yes," Jenny Ray answered slowly. Lucien nodded. "From what I've seen, all of you possess a strong sense of justice," he said. "There is no profession more suited to you than serving in a police station." Jenny Ray's eyes widened. "Of Heart of Justice?" Was he really speaking of them? But in the end, what they had done in Anvil Town had merely been for survival. That thought lingered heavily in Jenny Ray's heart. As if sensing it, Lucien gently shook his head from the throne. "Even when pushed to the edge, you never chose to bully the weak or commit evil," he said calmly. "Instead, you protected others and shared food with the poor. That alone is enough." "Your Majesty." Jenny Ray's voice faltered slightly. Lucien's gaze swept across the hooded Jenny standing before him, then he spoke slowly. Working at the police station may help you fulfill what you truly desire. The duty of the police is to fight crime and protect the innocent. Over time, your image in the eyes of the world will change, until you become symbols of justice. Just like the Joy family, Lucien continued. As far as I know, people now see them as gentle angels in white. Few remember the fear and rejection they once faced. Jenny Ray had investigated the Joy family long ago. She knew this was true. And that was precisely why she had come. They, the Jenny family, wanted the same chance to live openly, without hiding, without fear. Are you willing? Lucien asked. Jenny Ray answered without hesitation, her voice firm and clear. Reporting to your majesty, we are willing. Very well. Lucien nodded in satisfaction. Then follow Lord Elif to the Lucien City Police Station and observe its operations. Once you are familiar with the work, Lord Elif will take you on a tour of the city. Everyone, please follow me, Lord Elif said with a smile as he stepped forward. Yes, my lord, the Jennies replied in unison. Under Lord Elif's guidance, the Jennies soon arrived at the Lucien City Police Station. But the moment they stepped inside, they froze. Lined up neatly in the station's lobby sat a group of Pokémon they had never seen before. They had orange-red fur marked with black stripes, bright eyes full of spirit, and an alert posture that radiated vigilance. They were listening attentively as an officer spoke to them. As soon as the Jennies entered, the Growlithe noticed them. Woof! Woof! The officer paused mid-sentence and turned around. When she saw the newcomers, she froze for a moment before shifting her gaze to Lord Elif. Lord Elif, who are these people? These are Officer Jennies from Anvil Town, Lord Elif explained. By order of His Majesty Lucien, they will officially join the police station starting today. By order of His Majesty Lucien? The officer immediately straightened, saluted sharply, and said, Welcome. I am Elsa of the Lucien City Police Station. The Jennies exchanged uncertain glances. Finally, Jenny Ray stepped forward. I am Jenny Ray from Anvil Town, she said calmly. Everyone, no need to be nervous, Lord Elif said reassuringly. Elsa, we're here today to familiarize them with the police station. Please give them a proper introduction. Yes, Lord Elif. Elsa nodded and began guiding the officer Jennies through the station. The Growlithe, meanwhile, followed closely behind. Their bright eyes darted between the Jennies, curiosity written all over their faces. Big sister, these Pokémon look really smart, one Jenny whispered. Jenny Ray glanced down at the Growlithe. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, everything went still. Then... Woof! Woof! Several Growlithe wagged their tails enthusiastically at her. Hey, Growlithe, behave yourselves. Elsa said with a laugh. These Jennies will be your partners from now on. Partners? The Growlithe grew even more excited. Did that mean they would finally have humans of their own? Elsa turned back to the Jennies and smiled apologetically. Sorry about that. These Pokémon are called Growlithe. His Majesty Lucien sent them here not long ago to assist us. Working together? Some of the Jennies couldn't hide the surprise on their faces. That's right, Elsa nodded. Growlithe have an exceptionally keen sense of smell. In many cases, they play a decisive role in investigations. They're extremely reliable partners. Hearing this, Jenny Ray looked at the Growlithe lined up before her, her gaze lingering. Partners. For the first time, she began to clearly imagine what her future might look like. Meanwhile, in Castelia City, at the Castelia Gym. After several days of preparation and training, Derek and Riolo finally stood before the gym's entrance. They hadn't challenged it yet, but Derek had already heard plenty of stories from other trainers in the city. The gym leader was named Alex, a fire-type specialist. His strongest Pokémon was said to be an Emboar, and its power was overwhelming. So far, no one had managed to obtain the badge. Would he succeed? Derek clenched his fists and stepped into the gym alongside Riolu, whose body had grown visibly sturdier after days of intense training. The challenge process was straightforward. Derek first presented his trainer credential, issued by the Trainer Association when he received his starter Pokémon. The staff verified it and immediately went to notify the gym leader. The battlefield inside the gym was a perfectly rectangular arena. The ground beneath their feet glowed a deep, flame-like red. The moment Derek stepped forward, a wave of heat washed over him. This place is hot. They didn't have to wait long. Soon, a young man in a red martial arts style outfit strode out. His short crimson hair and confident grin radiated arrogance and passion. So this is him. Derek thought. Alex. Another challenger? Alex laughed lightly. Welcome. I'm Alex, the gym leader stationed here by order of His Majesty Lucian. If you want a gym badge, prove your strength to me. The battle format is 3 versus 3, the staff member acting as referee announced. Each side may use up to 3 Pokémon. The match ends when all Pokémon on one side lose the ability to battle. 3 versus 3. Derek's pupils tightened. He only had one Pokémon right now. Before he could say anything, Alex had already thrown a Pokeball with crisp confidence. A burst of white light flashed. A small, red-bodied Pokémon appeared on the battlefield, flames flickering faintly around its body. Magby. Seeing this, Derek clenched his fists harder. I have to become strong. Only then can I give my mother a better life. Riolu, go. Derek shouted. Riolu leapt onto the battlefield. But the moment its feet touched the crimson floor, a subtle stiffness ran through its body. Heh, Alex chuckled. This battlefield was specially customized for fire-type Pokémon. For non-fire types, that scorching ground can be a real problem. Despite explaining, Alex showed no hesitation. Magby, he commanded sharply, use Flame Wheel. Chapter 213, Trainers. A scorching blaze erupted from Magby's small body. Flames instantly wrapped around it, and in the next moment, it charged forward like a burning wheel, rushing straight toward Riolu. Riolu, be careful. Dodge. Derek frowned, forcing himself to stay calm. But the extreme heat of the battlefield had already disrupted Riolu's footing. The moment it tried to move, pain shot through its feet. Its rhythm was completely thrown off. Magby's flame wheel slammed directly into Riolu. Riolu was sent flying backward, skidding across the burning ground. Don't give it any room. Alex pointed forward sharply. Magby, fire punch. Before Riolu could even get back up, Magby lunged again. Riolu, get up. Watch out. Derek shouted anxiously. But the overheated battlefield worked against Riolu at every step. It hopped clumsily on the scorching surface, unable to respond to Derek's commands in time. Magby's flaming fist struck cleanly. Riolu's body slammed to the ground and went still. The first battle goes to Magby, the referee announced. He then turned to Derek. Contestant Derek, please send out your next Pokémon. Next Pokémon. Derek's mouth opened, then slowly closed. He only had Riolu. Looking at Riolu lying motionless on the battlefield, Derek clenched his fists so hard his nails dug into his palms. I forfeit the challenge, he said through gritted teeth. Ha! Alex looked mildly surprised. I haven't had time to catch a second Pokémon yet, Derek continued. Gym leader Alex, I'll come back and challenge you again. Alex paused for a moment, then nodded. I see. You're still a rookie trainer. He crossed his arms and spoke calmly. If you're just starting out, there's no need to rush gym challenges. Spend more time training in the wild. Strengthen your bond with your Pokémon, catch partners that suit you, and build a proper team. That will make future challenges much easier. More importantly, gym challenges required adaptability. The defining feature of Castelia Gym was its superheated battlefield. Beneath the arena lay large quantities of fire gemstones, constantly radiating intense heat. Under these conditions, Pokémon that relied on ground combat were at a severe disadvantage. However, this was not unbeatable. Flying-type Pokémon could avoid the terrain entirely. Water-type Pokémon could lower the temperature and neutralize the battlefield's effects. This was part of the test. A gym wasn't just about strength. It was also about judgment. "Go treat Riolu first," Alex said. "I'll be here, waiting for you." "Yes, Gym Leader Alex." Derek bowed slightly and hurried toward the Pokémon Center with Riolu in his arms. Not long after Derek left, another figure stepped into the gym. When Alex saw who it was, his eyes widened instantly. "Sister Anna," he blurted out. "Didn't you go work for the Trainer Association in Oplucid City? Why are you here?" He. Anna smiled mischievously. "Of course I'm here to collect gym badges." Alex nearly choked. "Anna, don't joke around. How could we possibly be your opponents? And does His Majesty know you came here?" "My teacher knows," Anna replied quickly. She felt a flicker of guilt, but if her teacher found out, he'd definitely support her decision to collect gym badges and enter the year-end Battleground event. Before that, though, she needed the Castelia badge. "All right, Alex," Anna waved her hand. "Let's battle first. We can talk later." Since leaving Lucian City, her strength had risen dramatically. Zoroark had grown sharper and more dangerous. Rufflet had evolved into a powerful Braviary. And she had gained new partners. Onyx, massive and rock-solid. Roserade, elegant and deadly. Emolga, small but capable of unleashing terrifying electric currents. Her current strength far surpassed what it once was. Even her teacher would be surprised. But she planned to save that surprise for the Battleground event. Alex looked at her lineup and sighed. As a gym leader, he couldn't refuse a challenger. So he braced himself. 15 minutes later. Anna stood smiling, holding the Castelia badge in her hand. "That was hard work, Alex," she said cheerfully, waving goodbye. Alex, who had just been completely overwhelmed. Meanwhile, deep in the forest between Accumula Town and Striaton City, Freya and Patrat stood frozen, staring at the wild Heracross before them. Not long ago, after barely escaping the Nidoqueen incident, they had returned to town. Fear had spread quickly. More than half the trainers in Accumula Town had given up on traveling altogether, choosing safety over ambition. Freya had almost done the same. But then she asked herself, if others could overcome their fear, why couldn't she? So she and Patrat set out again. Along the way, they defeated several wild Pokémon that attacked them. Today, they had planned to camp here. Instead, a massive figure appeared out of nowhere and snatched Freya's bag. "Hey! That's mine!" Freya shouted, rushing forward. She tried to talk to it, to reason with it. But the wild Heracross ignored her completely. It tore open the bag, rummaged inside, and pulled out a glass jar filled with golden sweet honey. The moment it saw the honey, Heracross's fierce expression melted into pure delight. "Ah! That's my food!" Freya cried. She rushed forward to grab it back. But she was too slow. Heracross had already popped the lid and began happily slurping the honey, completely absorbed. "We're doomed!" Freya's eyes widened in panic, and Patrat's face was filled with despair. But as a trainer, Freya forced herself to calm down. She knew very well that their safety was far more important than a jar of sweet honey. Honey could always be bought again. But if they angered that Heracross and it attacked, then there would truly be no escape. Forget it, forget it. Freya bent down, picked up the bag that Heracross had tossed aside, quickly reorganized her things, and grabbed Patrat's paw. "Let's go!" The girl and her Pokémon retreated as fast as they could. Before long, they found a much safer campsite on the opposite side of the forest. "This place is good." Freya let out a breath. We'll rest here tonight. Patrat, keep watch. I'll set up the tent. Before leaving Accumula Town, Freya had bought a special item from the friendly store, Repel Spray. It emitted a scent that wild Pokémon disliked. Spraying it around the campsite could effectively deter most Pokémon and prevent surprise attacks. Freya immediately got to work. Meanwhile, Patrat climbed onto a nearby tree to scout the surroundings. Then suddenly, Patrat froze. Its eyes widened, and it sucked in a sharp breath. Patrat! Freya's heart jumped. She spun around instantly. What is it? Patrat, is something dangerous coming? Patrat! Patrat nodded frantically, pointing into the distance. Freya followed its gaze. Her face went pale. The Heracross. The same Heracross that had stolen her sweet honey earlier was walking straight toward their campsite. Ah! Why did it follow us again? Freya nearly screamed. But when Heracross arrived, it didn't attack. It didn't snatch her bag. It simply stood there quietly, looking at Freya and Patrat with calm, gentle eyes. Freya blinked, stunned. What does it want? Patrat tilted its head, equally confused. Then Freya suddenly realized something. Wait. Don't tell me. She stared at Heracross cautiously. You want sweet honey again? She waved her hands helplessly. We don't have any more. You already ate it all. Go on, hurry up and leave. Heracross shook its head. Hara! Patrat jumped in surprise. Patrat? Before Freya could react, Heracross calmly stepped forward, reached into her open backpack, and pulled out a Pokeball. It stared at the ball curiously, tilting its head as if recalling something it had seen before. The next instant, its body turned into a beam of red light and was sucked straight into the Pokeball. The ball dropped onto the grass, bounced twice. Thump! Thump! Freya and Patrat stood frozen. What just happened? Freya murmured blankly. Then she suddenly remembered. Earlier, when she had recalled Patrat into its Pokeball. Heracross must have seen that. A horrifying realization dawned on her. It thought the Pokeball was how you get sweet honey. Before she could do anything, the Pokeball stopped shaking. Click! The capture was successful. Freya stared at it in complete disbelief. I just caught a Heracross. Lucian City. Your Majesty, the Jennies have begun formal training at the police station, as you instructed, Elif reported. Lucian nodded. Then, as if remembering something important, he frowned slightly. Do the Jennies know that they will eventually have to take up posts in different cities? He asked. Elif paused, then shook his head. It seems, they do not yet know. I see. Lucian fell silent for a moment. The Thunder Gang had always lived together. They were tightly bonded, inseparable. But joining the kingdom meant structure, responsibility, and separation. This was not something that could be hidden. No matter what, Lucian said calmly, they must be informed in advance. Elif immediately understood. Yes, Your Majesty. He went straight to the police station, asked to speak with Jenny Ray alone, and relayed Lucian's words exactly. Jenny Ray listened quietly. She was not surprised. I understand, she said after a moment. I will tell them myself. Elif hesitated, then added gently, even if you separate, it doesn't mean you'll never meet again. With the flying Pokémon taxis His Majesty created, you can see each other within hours. Jenny Ray thought of the sky, the wind, the effortless flight. You're right. She nodded. Thank you, Lord Elif. After Elif left, Jenny Ray gathered her sisters together. Her voice was steady. Everyone, I have something to announce. The Jennies immediately turned toward her. Big sister? Jenny Ray took a deep breath. After our training is complete, we will likely be assigned to different cities, just like the Joys. We may no longer be able to stay together as we did before. The room fell silent. So, Jenny Ray continued, her tone firm, starting today, the Thunder Gang will be officially disbanded. Gasps erupted instantly. What? Big sister, why? Was this His Majesty Lucian's decision? No, Jenny Ray shook her head. This was my decision. Chapter 214, A New Era. Note, renamed Twin Dragon City to Oplucid City. This is for everyone's sake. Jenny Ray's gaze slowly swept across the familiar faces before her before she spoke again, her voice calm yet resolute. The gang model is no longer suitable for the kingdom ruled by His Majesty Lucian. Pokémon centers, police stations, trainers, Pokémon flying taxis, gyms spread across the land. She paused briefly. I believe it's not just me, you all feel it too. His Majesty is creating a completely new era. The joys of the Joy family have already stepped forward. They've integrated into society, and through their work, the world has begun to change how it views them. But we, the Jennies, are still trapped in the past. When I first founded the Thunder Gang, it was simply to give everyone a place to survive, to stand firm in a hostile world. Now, we have a better choice. In the nation built by His Majesty Lucian, no one will despise us, no one will treat us as harbingers of misfortune. She looked at them gently. On ordinary days, you all call me Big Sister. So now, as your Big Sister, I truly hope that each of you can live openly here, just like the Joys. The Jenny's eyes trembled. Big Sister. They felt it clearly, Jenny Ray's sincerity, her concern, her hope for them. Soon, one Jenny stepped forward and nodded firmly. We'll listen to Big Sister. That's right, another Jenny added quickly. This way, Big Sister won't have to shoulder everything alone anymore. And even if we're scattered across the kingdom, it's not like we'll never meet again, someone said with a grin. With flying Pokémon taxis, we can reunite anytime we want. The tension in the room slowly dissolved. Light returned to their eyes. Then, one Jenny suddenly reached out her hand, to celebrate everyone's new life. Without hesitation, more hands stacked on top. One by one. The Jennies looked at each other, then shouted together. From now on, we'll work even harder and prove ourselves to Big Sister. Yes. Kingdom Calendar, Year 151, early May. The Jenny family officially joined the Kingdom of Eindhoven and began serving under Lucian. After completing professional training in Lucian City, they departed with their assigned Grow-Life partners, heading to cities across the Unova region to assume their roles as police officers. The Jenny lineage possessed a natural sense of justice. Within just half a month, public security across the region improved dramatically. When Lucian received the reports, he wasn't surprised. After all, there was a reason the leagues in later eras entrusted the Jenny family with law enforcement everywhere. But to the people of this time, it was nothing short of astonishing. Your Majesty, your foresight is truly extraordinary, Elif said, reviewing the reports sent by various city mayors, his voice filled with admiration. Lucian. He didn't respond, but Elif wasn't wrong. With Officer Jenny stationed across the land, public security was no longer a concern. Now, the framework was complete. Friendly stores for supplies. Pokémon centers for medical care. Police stations for order. Gyms to test strength. The trainer profession could now develop naturally. What mattered next was infrastructure. Lucian set down one report and picked up another. Reporting to Your Majesty. The railway tracks connecting Lucian City to Oplucid City, Kagome Village, and Undella Town have been completed. Awaiting your instructions. Another report followed, sent by Lucian City's mayor, Sharon. Your Majesty, the station in Oplucid City has been completed according to the blueprints and is ready for use. All 3 lines, finished? Lucian was genuinely surprised. That meant people could now travel freely between Lucian City, Oplucid City, Undella Town, and Kagome Village by steam train. It was exhilarating. But Lucian quickly steadied himself. This was only the beginning.
Many more towns still awaited connection.
Unlike flying Pokémon taxis, which could carry only a handful of passengers at a time, steam trains could transport people and goods in massive quantities. Coal, ore, clothing, industrial materials.
This would fundamentally reshape the kingdom's economy. Elif, Lucian asked, "What's the current status of the steam train itself?" "Reporting to your majesty, the steam train has entered the trial operation phase."
"Oh?"
Lucian's eyes brightened.
He had only provided blueprints, yet the craftsman had already brought it to life.
Human ingenuity truly knew no bounds. "Take me to see it."
"Yes, your majesty."
They left the castle together and soon arrived at Lucian City Station, now designated a restricted zone. Unauthorized entry was forbidden.
Inside, over a dozen craftsmen surrounded a colossal machine, making final adjustments.
Before Lucian stood a pitch-black steel behemoth. Its body was forged from countless precisely fitted components.
A towering chimney rose from its core, while massive driving wheels lined its underside. Behind the locomotive, two carriages were firmly connected by sturdy Janny couplers.
When the craftsmen saw Lucian arrive, they immediately stepped forward and saluted. "Your Majesty Lucian."
Lucian nodded in acknowledgement and fixed his gaze on the steel giant before him.
"The very first steam train ever born in this world. How is it?" he asked. "Can it operate normally?"
"Reporting to your majesty," a craftsman replied excitedly, "the steam train has entered its final debugging stage.
If no issues arise, it can be mass-produced and officially put into use."
He turned back toward the group behind him and raised his arm.
"Everyone, show His Majesty Lucian the results of our work."
"Yes,"
the craftsmen responded in unison.
Several of them climbed onto the locomotive and ignited the furnace. In the next instant, a deep, thunderous rumble echoed through the station.
Shoo!
Thick white steam burst from the chimney atop the locomotive, billowing into the air. Inside the steel body, the machinery roared to life.
Power surged through the engine, and the massive wheels beneath began to turn with a steady, rhythmic clatter.
Under Lucian's watchful eyes and the craftsman's eager gazes, the steam train slowly began to move. It rolled forward along the steel-laid tracks, stable and powerful.
The tremendous noise drew the attention of nearby Pokémon.
One by one, they emerged from the forest and roadside bushes, stopping to stare curiously at this advancing steel behemoth.
"Success!"
The craftsmen erupted in cheers.
"Your Majesty, we succeeded." Lucian watched the scene quietly, then nodded with a faint smile.
"You have all worked hard," he said.
"Your efforts will not go unrewarded.
I hereby announce that everyone involved in this project will receive a special bonus from the kingdom."
The craftsmen's eyes lit up instantly. They laughed, exchanged excited looks, and celebrated with high-fives. Lucian watched them with satisfaction. He knew that a new era had begun.
With the steam train as its artery, the cities, towns, and villages of the Unova region would be bound together more closely than ever before.
Unova.
A land where many peoples and many Pokémon live together as part of a single, vast ecosystem.
All becoming one.
It was a name that perfectly echoed the birth of the divine dragon Kyurem.
From this moment onward, it was no longer merely the kingdom of Eindhoek. It was the Unova Kingdom. The Unova region. Kingdom calendar, year 151, mid-May. Two major announcements spread across the land. First, His Majesty Lucian of Lucian City formally declared that the Kingdom of Eindhoek would henceforth be renamed the Unova Kingdom. The name signified unity.
A nation where all people, all Pokémon, and all cultures lived together, regardless of origin, status, class, or gender.
Second came the celebration of the steam train's successful development and the official opening of railway routes connecting Lucian City, Oplucid City, Undella Town, Kagome Village, and other locations.
From this day forward, residents of these places could travel freely using a brand new form of transportation, the steam train. As for cities whose routes had not yet opened, there was no need for concern.
Railway construction was already underway across the region. The announcements were printed in newspapers and delivered by messengers to every corner of Unova. Soon, the entire kingdom was abuzz. Regarding the renaming of the kingdom, most people reacted calmly.
Their daily lives remained unchanged, and many simply felt that the new name sounded better than the old one. The steam train, however, caused a far greater stir. In cities like Castelia City and Striaton City, where railway lines had not yet been completed, residents were filled with curiosity about this new invention. Meanwhile, in Oplucid City and Undella Town, people experienced it firsthand. They quickly discovered something remarkable.
Traveling from Oplucid City to Lucian City by steam train was astonishingly fast and convenient.
The ticket prices were far lower than those of flying Pokémon taxis, and for those who feared heights, the train felt far safer than soaring through the sky.
Soon, crowds poured into the stations. Some traveled to visit relatives and friends. Others came to tour Lucian City, the capital of the Unova Kingdom. Many sought new job opportunities in distant cities.
Population movement increased rapidly.
Merchants, too, sensed opportunity.
Transporting goods by steam train was faster, safer, and more reliable than the old caravan routes that relied on Bouffalant and pack Pokémon.
One by one, trading caravans were phased out. Commerce across Unova began to grow at a breathtaking pace.
In just 1 month, the city halls of Oplucid City, Undella Town, and several other regions, along with their major commercial districts, were already reaping enormous profits.
Butler Kron stood before Mayor Sharon, his face flushed with excitement as he delivered the financial report.
Lord Sharon, ever since the steam train began operating, our city's financial revenue this month has increased tenfold compared to before.
Not only that, but local shops and vendors have also made a fortune thanks to the influx of tourists and merchants from other regions.
My lord, we've struck gold,
Kron said excitedly.
If this momentum continues, Oplucid City becoming the second largest metropolis in the Unova Kingdom is only a matter of time. Hearing this, Sharon calmly took a sip of the freshly delivered moo milk from Lucian City, a satisfied smile curling at the corner of his lips.
As expected. He had known all along that following in His Majesty Lucian's footsteps was the correct choice.
After all, that was the man chosen by the divine dragon. But more than the profit itself, what Sharon truly cared about was how the other lords the other city mayors would react when they heard this news. Let's go, Kron, Sharon suddenly said, rising from his seat.
Kron froze for a moment. My lord? To Lucian City, of course.
Sharon stretched leisurely. Now that we're making this much money, it's only right that I enjoy life properly. He paused, then added with interest, besides, I heard the Pokémon battle events at the Grand Arena there are extremely popular these days. Naturally, there was another reason he did not bother saying aloud. He wanted to see what new things His Majesty Lucian had created this time, especially delicacies like sweet honey and moo milk.
Yes, my lord. Kron quickly stood as well. After a moment of thought, Sharon added casually, invest all of this phase's financial revenue into Oplucid City's infrastructure. My lord? Kron was taken aback. Sharon smiled. Only when the city becomes better can we continue attracting people from other regions. And only then can we keep making more money. Kron's eyes shone.
My lord truly has great foresight.
Enough talking, Sharon waved him off. Go buy me a first-class ticket.
I hear quite a few major aristocrats have been running around lately.
If we go late, there won't be any left.
Yes, my lord.
Meanwhile, inside the castle of Lucian City.
Lucian stared at the stack of letters that had arrived early that morning, feeling a bit at a loss for words. They were from Castelia City, Striaton City, Black City, Burbank City, and several other regions.
Although there were many letters, the contents were astonishingly consistent. Your Majesty, we're starving.
Please give us food. Without a doubt, these fellows had grown jealous after seeing how much Oplucid City had earned.
Chapter 215, Bicycles and Pokémon Battles. Honk! Honk!
Accompanied by a clear, melodious whistle, the steam train departing from Oplucid City slowly pulled into Lucian City Station. Sharon and his butler Kron stepped off the carriage together with the crowd of tourists, both of them surveying their surroundings with expressions filled with novelty. "It's only been a short while since I last came here, and Lucian City has changed again," Sharon said with interest. Kron nodded, but his attention was not on the buildings or streets. Instead, his gaze lingered on the passengers disembarking around them. Since the train had departed from Oplucid City, the vast majority of the travelers were commoners from their territory. Looking at their faces, filled with anticipation and hope for the future, Kran felt something stirred deep in his chest. He still remembered how, just a few years ago, the people of the territory had worn numb expressions. They toiled endlessly in the fields or served the great nobles, living lives with no future in sight. That hopeless existence had reduced them to little more than walking corpses, drifting through the world without purpose. But now, ever since His Majesty Lucian ascended the throne, everything had changed. The lives of the commoners were steadily improving, and the numbness that once filled their eyes had been replaced with hope. They were no longer confined to a single place. They could travel freely, choose where to live, and even work in the factories established throughout the kingdom, earning stable wages. And with money in hand, they could ride the steam train to other cities to settle down, visit friends, or simply see the world. Kran exhaled softly. He felt genuine happiness for them. No. The Unova kingdom no longer had slaves. Kran? Sharon noticed the look on his old friend's face and raised an eyebrow. "My lord," Kran replied, "I was just thinking that people's lives truly are getting better." "That is only natural," Sharon said calmly. As mayor of Oplucid City, no one understood this more clearly than he did. In his daily work, he could feel it with certainty. Oplucid City, and the entire Unova kingdom, were becoming more prosperous with each passing day. "Perhaps those commoners are right," Sharon said after a pause. "His Majesty Lucian may truly have been sent by the gods to save this land." "My lord, I didn't expect you to believe such things," Kran said helplessly, torn between laughter and disbelief. In his view, those stories were simply legends born from admiration. "Why shouldn't I believe it?" Sharon replied, shaking his head gently. "You haven't seen what His Majesty was like before." He grew quiet, memories surfacing. "Once, when I went to Eindhoven to pay my respects, I sought His Majesty Lucian in the castle of the Sword of the Earth. At that time, he gave off a completely different presence than he does now. It felt as though the gods themselves could no longer bear the suffering on this land and granted him the wisdom to lead us toward a prosperous future." From Sharon's perspective, the difference between the old kingdom and the current Unova kingdom was undeniable. Unova. A land where humans and Pokémon lived together, regardless of status or origin. His Majesty Lucian had truly brought unity to all. Such achievements would likely be remembered and praised even thousands of years in the future. But that was not their concern. What mattered now was enjoying the life His Majesty had created. There was no reason to waste this visit. Instead of lingering, they would explore the city, dine at the newly opened Pokémon restaurant, and then head to the Grand Arena to watch an exhilarating Pokémon battle. What a peaceful, fulfilling life it was. Sharon and Kran arrived quietly and departed just as quietly, never once going to the castle to disturb His Majesty Lucian. Lucian, however, was not entirely unaware. Some guards reported that the mayor of Oplucid City had come to Lucian City earlier in the day. At first, Lucian assumed it was an urgent matter. But upon learning that Sharon had merely come to eat, sightsee, and watch Pokémon battles, he could only feel speechless. Even the former nobles could not resist these novelties. So be it. Lucian set the matter aside and lowered his gaze to the document freshly drafted on his desk. Order regarding the construction of new urban districts across various regions. He recalled the letters sent earlier that morning. Those officials who had once resisted reform were now the most eager. Exactly as he had hoped. Aside from Lucian City, most cities in the kingdom remained trapped in outdated urban structures. If they wished to develop, they would need to expand beyond their original foundations. Pokémon centers, tourism districts, railway stations, none of it could function without proper infrastructure. Send these documents to the other cities, Lucian instructed as he handed the order documents to a subordinate.
Yes, Your Majesty. The subordinate accepted them and hurried away. At that moment, Elif entered from outside.
Your Majesty, the bicycle you requested has been successfully manufactured by our craftsman, Elif reported.
Oh? Lucian's interest was immediately piqued. Take me to see it. Yes. Under Elif's guidance, the two arrived in front of the castle.
There, resting quietly on the open ground, was a mode of transport Lucian found all too familiar.
A bicycle. Your Majesty, I am willing to test it for you, Elif said earnestly. Do you know how to ride? Lucian asked. Elif shook his head honestly. Reporting to Your Majesty, I do not. However, he had watched the craftsman ride it earlier with ease and assumed it could not be that difficult. Lucian fell silent for a moment. Never mind. I'll do it myself. Elif was already getting on in years. If he fell and injured himself, handling official affairs would become troublesome. Lucian mounted the bicycle. Having not ridden one in a long time, he felt slightly awkward at first, but his balance quickly returned. With his feet on the pedals, he gave a light push. The bicycle rolled forward smoothly. The guard stationed nearby immediately turned to look, curiosity written all over their faces. It's moving. That thing is called a bicycle? It looks much faster than walking. If I had one, commuting from home would be so much easier. Lucian overheard them and nodded with a smile. Naturally. Noticing His Majesty's attention, the guards immediately straightened up. Your Majesty. Lucian completed a full lap before stopping. He dismounted, nodded to the guards, and then examined the bicycle more carefully. Compared to steam trains, bicycles were far more suitable for short-distance travel. They were ideal for citizens who did not own rideable Pokémon. As urban expansion continued, Lucian's city was growing larger by the day. Walking from one end of the city to the other was increasingly time-consuming. In that context, bicycles were not merely convenient. They were transformative. They can be mass-produced, Lucian said calmly. Begin preparations to officially put them up for sale. Yes, Your Majesty, Elif replied at once. Lucian nodded slightly. Then, it was time for the next step. The Unova Kingdom's development was proceeding smoothly. Public support was at an all-time high, and satisfaction points had reached unprecedented levels. Under these conditions, Lucian decided it was finally time to implement a unified national currency. The existing monetary system was outdated. Gold, silver, and copper coins relied on limited resources, were heavy, and were inconvenient for large-scale transactions. Printed banknotes would be far more practical. More importantly, a formal banking system had to be established. Lucian returned to his study, sat at his desk, and closed his eyes, organizing his thoughts. The first challenge was implementing a new currency. With industrial expansion and economic growth, reliance on precious metals alone could no longer meet demand. A more flexible issuance system was necessary. However, the people of Unova had long been accustomed to the old system. Sudden change would not be easy to accept. The second issue was exchange rates. How much should one gold coin be worth in banknotes? The conversion needed to feel intuitive and fair, especially to commoners. Finally, there was the matter of banking institutions. Before the war, Lucian had already established rudimentary banks where people could store currency. While they were welcomed by the populace, they were far too primitive. Yes, Lucian thought, the banking system must also be reformed. Finance was not his area of expertise. Fortunately, he had something better than expertise. With a single thought, the interface unfolded before his eyes. Lucian scrolled through the branches of the industrial age, his gaze stopping at a newly unlocked section. Currency reform. Central bank. Currency reform. provides technology for restructuring the monetary system.
Exchange cost 80,000 satisfaction points.
Central bank establishes a professional institution to manage currency issuance and the financial system. Exchange cost 150,000 satisfaction points. Lucian glanced at his current satisfaction points.
They were more than sufficient. Lucian's thoughts shifted slightly, and in the next instant, a massive influx of knowledge surged into his mind.
Economic theory, monetary circulation, credit systems, issuance controls. So, it can be done like this.
Lucian's eyes lit up with realization. Without hesitation, he picked up his quill and began writing rapidly across the parchment, ideas flowing one after another.
A new era of finance was taking shape beneath his pen. Wow, so this is Striaton City?
Standing before the towering city gates, Freya lifted her head in awe. The walls were tall, the streets wide, and the city bustled with life far beyond anything she had ever seen in Accumula town. After several exhausting days of travel, she and Patrat had finally passed through the forest and arrived safely.
Not only that, she had even caught a new Pokémon.
Freya subconsciously glanced at the Pokeball on her waist and thought of the Heracross who had practically thrown itself inside just to eat sweet honey. The memory made her feel both amused and helpless. But now's not the time for that. Arriving in a new city meant priorities. First, the Pokémon Center to rest and recover. Then, the friendly store to resupply. And finally, the gym challenge. According to the Trainer Association's travel manual, Striaton City had a gym. Only by defeating its gym leader could she earn a badge and take another step forward as a trainer. Patrat, Heracross, we have to do our best. Freya clenched her fists, eyes full of determination. Patrat. Patrat replied energetically. Let's go. To the Pokémon Center. After asking a passerby for directions, Freya hurried forward. The moment she stepped into the Pokémon Center lobby and spotted the familiar pink-haired figure, her eyes widened in shock. Nurse Joy? The woman looked up in confusion.
You know me? Yes. Freya nodded repeatedly. We met before in Accumula town.
I didn't expect you to arrive in Striaton City before we did. Nurse Joy blinked, then smiled gently. That wasn't me, she explained softly.
The Nurse Joy working in Accumula town is my older sister, Joy Yuki. I'm Joy Suki.
We may look exactly alike, but we're not the same person.
Ah.
Freya froze on the spot. Before she could process that revelation, a mocking voice cut in from nearby.
Ha! Country bumpkin. What's there to be so surprised about?
Freya turned sharply. A boy dressed in elegant clothes, clearly of noble background, was looking at her with open disdain. Every Pokémon Center has a Nurse Joy who looks exactly the same. That's basic knowledge every trainer should know.
You're the country bumpkin. Freya snapped, instantly bristling.
Oh? The boy sneered and pulled out a gem-studded Pokeball.
Not satisfied? Then I'll be kind and battle you. Let you see what a real trainer looks like. Fine. Freya shot back, anger flaring. Who's afraid of who? You're the rude one.
Nurse Joy watched the exchange with a troubled expression. She wanted to stop them, but judging by their tempers, anything she said would only make things worse. In the end, she spoke calmly. You two, please head to the backyard. There's a designated battlefield there for trainer battles.
Thank you, Nurse Joy, Freya said politely, bowing. Chapter 216, Heracross and Sweet Honey.
The noble boy said nothing. He merely crossed his arms, lifted his chin, and strode arrogantly toward the backyard. Freya followed behind him, fuming.
The two soon arrived at an open battleground. Sunlight glinted off the gem-inlaid pokeball in the noble boy's hand, its brilliance impossible to ignore.
Hey, country bumpkin, he sneered. Don't start crying when you lose later.
I won't cry. How annoying. Freya shot back. Since you want to do this so badly, then come on, I'll send you out.
She had originally planned to use Patrat, but after a moment's hesitation, she changed her mind and pulled out Heracross's Pokeball instead. The noble boy pressed the button with practiced elegance. A burst of white light flashed, and a Lyron appeared on the battlefield. Its steel body gleamed dully, blue eyes sharp and alert. One look was enough to tell it had been carefully trained. On Freya's side stood a Pokémon resembling a giant rhinoceros beetle. Its body looked as hard as iron, and the thick horn on its forehead gave off an imposing presence. Yet the moment it emerged from its Pokeball, Heracross began looking around curiously, its large insect face oddly adorable, and just a little silly. Just a big bug, huh? A confident smile spread across the noble boy's face. He made no move to start the battle, instead gesturing toward his Lyron with pride. This Pokémon is used exclusively in His Majesty Lucian's army, he declared smugly. You and that oversized bug don't stand a chance. Humph. Freya huffed. Heracross, he's looking down on us. In that case, let's show him what we're made of. Hera? Heracross glanced around, as if searching for something, then frowned slightly. A hint of resistance crept into its expression. It clearly didn't feel like battling right now. The noble boy froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Oh my god, are you serious? He mocked. You're a trainer, and you can't even command your own Pokémon? Freya stiffened. Then she clenched her fists and said stubbornly, of course I can. She hurried over to Heracross's side and whispered softly, almost pleading, please, Heracross. If you help me win this battle, I'll buy you 2 bottles of your favorite sweet honey afterward. At those words, Heracross's expression changed instantly. The reluctance vanished. It lifted its head and stared straight at the Lyron across the field, an intense fighting spirit igniting in its eyes. Hera! Yes! Freya breathed out in relief. She straightened up, pointed at the noble boy, and shouted, Heracross! Let's show this guy what happens when he looks down on us. Hera! The battle officially began. Lyron, Iron Head, the noble boy commanded without hesitation. Lyron lowered its head, steel plating gleaming as it charged forward like a battering ram. Heracross didn't flinch. Its eyes narrowed, burning with determination. Hera! Under everyone's stunned gaze, Heracross bent its legs slightly, then surged forward to meet the attack head-on. It didn't retreat. It advanced. The impact echoed across the battlefield. In the next instant, Lyron's body was sent flying backward, crashing to the ground at the noble boy's feet. Its eyes spun helplessly as it completely lost the ability to battle. The smug confidence on the noble boy's face shattered into disbelief. Lyron? How is that possible? Victorious, Heracross turned and trotted back to Freya's side. Yes. Freya cheered. Don't worry, Heracross. I'll buy you 2 bottles of sweet honey later, no, 5 bottles. Hera? Heracross's eyes lit up immediately. Freya then turned toward the noble boy, snorted, and said, so? How does it feel to lose to a country bumpkin like me? The noble boy's expression darkened. He said nothing. Judging by that look, you still don't even know why you lost. Fine, I'll be merciful and explain it to you. Lyron is a steel and rock-type Pokémon. The move Heracross just used was close combat, a fighting-type move. Fighting-type attacks deal 4 times damage to Lyron. That's why your Pokémon went down in 1 hit. Freya puffed out her chest proudly. She'd paid close attention in her Pokémon school classes. You win, the noble boy muttered at last. Unable to accept the outcome, the noble boy recalled Lyron into its Pokeball without another word and turned away, leaving in silence. Freya didn't care in the slightest. She looked down at Heracross with a bright smile. Alright, let's head to the street and buy you some sweet honey. Hera! The girl and her Pokémon gradually walked off, their figures growing smaller as their cheerful voices faded into the distance. Oh, and I'll need your help with gym challenges later too. Hera!
Kingdom Calendar, Year 151, mid-June.
Lucian officially implemented the central bank system and launched a sweeping currency reform.
From this day onward, all residents holding the old currency could go to their local Unova bank branches and exchange it for the new banknotes. The moment these two policies were announced, they caused an enormous stir across every major city in the Kingdom of Unova. At first, very few people were willing to make the exchange.
In the eyes of many, a thin sheet of white paper, one that looked easy to tear, could never compare to the solid weight of metal coins. Those coins were what they had relied on for generations, the very foundation of their livelihoods.
This resistance was even stronger among noble households and wealthy families. For them, a single change could ripple through their entire financial structure. They were deeply accustomed to the old economic system, and any sudden reform was bound to make them uneasy. The second day after the currency reform began, Lucian City, inside the royal castle. Elif finished listening to a series of reports before turning toward Lucian, concern evident on her face.
Your Majesty, the number of people exchanging their currency is still extremely low in most regions, she said carefully.
Do we truly not need to intervene more forcefully?
Lucian showed no signs of impatience. Standing by the window, he gazed down at the bustling streets of Lucian City below and replied calmly, "There's no need to rush."
Meanwhile, in Striaton City, inside the modest home of a farming family,
a woman wearing a heavily patched apron looked at her husband anxiously, unable to hold back her worries.
"Ethan, are we really going into the city tomorrow to exchange our silver coins for those paper notes?" The man named Ethan nodded without hesitation. "Don't worry, Mia.
I trust His Majesty Lucian," he said firmly. "If it weren't for him, we might have already lost our home because of the war." Think about it, since His Majesty Lucian took the throne, the lives of commoners and farmers like us have improved more than ever before. Everything he does is for our sake.
He wouldn't harm us.
He paused, then continued with quiet conviction. If he didn't care about us, he wouldn't have gone so far for people like us. We should trust him. And if someone refuses to accept the new banknotes, or tries to damage them, I believe His Majesty will definitely stand up for us.
Mia listened in silence.
Slowly, the tension in her expression eased.
That made sense.
She didn't say anything more, simply nodding as she silently chose to support her husband's decision.
Chapter 217, Currency Reform, Birth of the Giant Vessel.
In Burbank City, a hub of commerce and trade, many merchants found themselves facing the same difficult choice. They gathered together, voices low but tense, to discuss what they should do. Some merchants were openly skeptical of the new paper currency, which appeared to hold no intrinsic value at all. "This thing is just a single sheet of white paper," one of them scoffed.
"It's not even worth a copper coin. And now we're supposed to trade the gold in our hands for this? Is His Majesty joking?"
A wave of agreement rippled through the room. Everyone stared at the 100-denomination banknote lying on the table, unsure what to make of it. If they exchanged their coins, it felt like a loss. But if they refused, and somehow offended His Majesty, people as insignificant as them wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. At that moment, an elderly merchant standing among them glanced around with a thoughtful smile. "I actually find this paper currency rather interesting," he said slowly. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward him. The old merchant continued, unhurried.
"In the past, small transactions were manageable.
But whenever we handled large orders, the sheer amount of gold we had to carry took up enormous space." He gestured lightly as he spoke.
"Metal currency is heavy. It's inconvenient to transport, especially in bulk. On the road, it makes us easy targets.
If bandits appear, protecting that kind of wealth is nearly impossible."
He paused, then said meaningfully, "But if it's replaced with light, easy-to-carry paper currency, both storage and transport become far simpler."
Murmurs began to spread. "More importantly," the old merchant added, "we can deposit our money in a bank beforehand. Once we reach our destination, we withdraw it again from a local branch."
He smiled.
Doing business in the future would be far easier. Then he looked at everyone present and said calmly, His Majesty Lucian is a king chosen by the divine dragon. Since the central bank and this new currency were created by him, I believe he will surely provide us with guarantees. As his subjects, we should place our trust in him." Those words struck home. Everyone suddenly realized something they had overlooked. The king of this nation was no ordinary ruler. His actions over the past few years had proven time and again that he was worthy of trust. Since the central bank and the new currency bore His Majesty Lucian's will, then he, together with the divine dragon Kurum, would undoubtedly safeguard their property. The currency reform soon became a raging torrent, sweeping across the entire Unova kingdom. Commoners and merchants alike, those who trusted Lucian and the kingdom, flocked to their local Lucian city bank branches, exchanging their metal coins for crisp paper banknotes. "Your Majesty, just as you predicted, residents everywhere have begun exchanging their gold coins for the new currency." Inside Lucian City's castle, Elif rushed in with an excited expression as she reported the news. Lucian showed little surprise. He merely nodded, gazing out the window at the bustling city below, a quiet understanding settling in his heart. "Elif," he said softly, "don't you understand yet? People can feel everything we do. If we treat them well, they will trust us in return, and they will willingly help maintain the kingdom's operation. Only in this way can a nation truly grow prosperous." "Your Majesty is wise," Elif said with deep emotion. Over these past few years, His Majesty Lucian had truly grown into a great ruler. To have him leading this land was a blessing not only for the people, but for the kingdom itself. Lucian gently stroked the head of the dragonite beside him and closed his eyes, silently contemplating the future. The currency reform had drastically reduced the cost of transporting goods. From this point onward, the Unova kingdom's economy was bound to advance even further. Steam trains had already entered service. Though they had not yet spread throughout the entire nation, that was only a matter of time. Factories were rising everywhere, recruiting workers and expanding production. And before long, once the steam-powered giant vessel was fully realized, goods produced in those factories could be transported to distant regions for trade. Combined with the presence of the forces of nature, who infused the land with vitality, enriching the soil and promising bountiful harvests, Unova now possessed a solid material foundation for growth. The Unova kingdom would surely take the lead over all other regions. Kingdom Calendar, Year 151, Late June. The first giant steam-powered ship in the history of the Unova kingdom was officially completed through the collective efforts of the entire nation. At the port of Castelia City, Lucian, having learned that the research project had reached its final stage, arrived from Lucian City atop his dragonite. Countless citizens had already gathered at the harbor. They stared in awe and disbelief at the steel behemoth resting upon the deep blue sea. The current mayor of Castelia City, Garp, personally welcomed Lucian's arrival and respectfully guided him aboard the massive vessel. When the people on shore caught sight of Lucian, their eyes lit up with excitement. "It's His Majesty Lucian! His Majesty has come to Castelia City! Long live His Majesty!" Cheers echoed across the harbor. Watching this scene, Garp felt momentarily dazed. At this moment, he was profoundly grateful for the decision he had made back then, to relinquish power and pledge loyalty to this great king. Lucian, however, paid no attention to Garp's emotions. Under the guidance of the crew, he boarded the steamship and began inspecting it, visiting the bridge, the cabins, the deck, the crew's quarters, and every other major section. "Not bad," Lucian said with a satisfied nod. He looked at the craftsmen and praised them sincerely. "You've done excellent work. Thank you for your efforts." The craftsmen's faces lit up with joy. "Your Majesty, this is only our duty." Lucian said nothing more. He gave a single command. "Reward them." Standing to the side, Garp hesitated for a moment before asking, "Your Majesty, how do you plan to make use of this giant vessel in the future?" Lucian smiled faintly and asked instead, "Garp, have you ever left this land beneath our feet and traveled to other continents?" Garp froze, then shook his head. "No. I haven't." Born in Castelia City and raised there, he had scarcely ever left its borders. "Then do you know," Lucian continued gently,
that beyond Unova, there are many other lands? Garp's eyes widened as an almost unbelievable thought surfaced. Does your majesty intend to conquer other lands and bring them under the banner of the Unova kingdom as well? Of course not, Lucian replied calmly. Those lands were far too distant. With their current level of technology, even if they managed to conquer them, ruling and maintaining control would be nearly impossible. Compared to conquest, communication is far more important, Lucian said. We will transport the goods produced in Unova to other regions for trade, allowing our people to become wealthier. At the same time, we can bring back Pokémon, technologies, and unique local specialties from those lands. Garp nodded slowly, understanding dawning on his face. But more importantly, Lucian continued, his tone growing serious, humanity's understanding of the world beyond our shores is still dangerously limited. I intend to assemble a fleet and usher in an age of discovery, to explore the seas on my behalf and learn exactly how many continents exist in this world, and where they are located. For now, conflicts are limited to wars between nations. But in the near future, it's possible that entire regions may be dragged into conflict with one another. Before that day arrives, we must be prepared. Even with the Unova Kingdom's current level of development, Lucian did not dare grow complacent. The Pokémon world harbored technologies that bordered on the incomprehensible. Take, for instance, the ultimate weapon once created by AZ in the Kalos region. Its power was enough to annihilate an entire region. If such a weapon were ever fired at Unova, recovery would take an unimaginably long time. Garp looked at Lucian with undisguised admiration. Your Majesty truly possesses extraordinary foresight. Lucian simply smiled, saying nothing more. After completing the inspection, he disembarked from the giant vessel, already considering when the Age of Discovery should officially begin. Before the fleet set sail, however, extensive preparations would be necessary to ensure the sailors' safety. For example, every crew member would need to be partnered with at least one water-type and one flying-type Pokémon. That way, even if the ship were wrecked by natural disasters such as storms or tsunamis, the sailors could rely on their Pokémon to escape. This approach would maximize survival. As Lucian pondered these matters, something caught his attention out of the corner of his eye. Ahead stood a Pokémon he recognized instantly. Small in stature, with an appearance resembling a puppy. Riolo? Beside it stood a commoner youth dressed in patched clothing, his expression resolute. Riolu was clearly his partner. How is the progress of trainers in Castelia City? Lucian asked. Garp replied promptly, Your Majesty, as per your instructions, starter Pokémon were distributed long ago to children who met the criteria. According to reports from the Trainer Association, many have already left the city to begin their journeys. However, some have chosen to remain here, training further, likely intending to obtain the Castelia Gym badge before traveling on to challenge other gyms. Lucian nodded thoughtfully. His gaze returned to the Riolu. Judging by its physical condition and mental state, it had been exceptionally well raised. At that moment, Riolu's trainer happened to look over as well. Lucian gave him a small nod of encouragement. His Majesty nodded at him. Derek's heart began pounding uncontrollably. As he watched Lucian turn and leave, he clenched his fists without realizing it. Riolu. His Majesty Lucian noticed us, he whispered. Riolu, too, stared in that direction. From that human, it had sensed an overwhelming aura. I heard that at the end of the year, during the battle festival, His Majesty Lucian himself will present the rewards to the champion. A blazing fighting spirit ignited in Derek's eyes. Riolu, we have to work harder. We'll go to Lucian City, and stand on that stage. Riolu responded instantly, its entire body brimming with energy. Whoa! Castelia Gym, here we come. Derek clenched his fists tightly. After learning from their previous failed challenge, he and Riolu had undergone targeted training. They had ventured into the wild again and again, battling Pokémon non-stop, and had even captured a second partner. This time, they were determined. The Castelia badge would be theirs. Chapter 218, Challenge the Fire Gym, The Age of Exploration begins. Castelia City.
Several days later, Derek returned to the fire-type gym that symbolized blazing flames, bringing along Riolu and his newly captured partner. "So, trainer," the gym leader Alex said with a grin as he looked at the boy, who was roughly the same age as himself.
"This is your second time challenging the gym. Are you fully prepared? We definitely won't lose as easily as last time." Derek clenched his fists, his voice firm. "Very well."
A sharp glint flashed in Alex's eyes.
"I'm looking forward to your performance." Phui.
With a clear, piercing whistle, the gym referee stepped forward and announced the rules.
This gym battle will be a 3v3 match. Each side may use up to 3 Pokémon. The battle will end only when all Pokémon on one side have lost the ability to battle. The match begins now. Please send out your first Pokémon.
Alex chose not to change his lineup. Just like last time, he sent out Magby first. He wanted to see how the challenger would handle the same opponent and tactics after suffering defeat once. More importantly, trainers weren't the only ones who grew stronger through gym battles. As a gym leader, Alex also refined his Pokémon strategies with every fight, identifying weaknesses and improving through real combat. Derek tightened his grip on the Pokeball in his hand. This time, he didn't immediately send out Riolu. Instead, "Go!" With a sharp shout, Derek hurled the Pokeball forward. A burst of white light erupted, and within it appeared a Pokémon nearly 1.5 meters tall, its body covered in white feathers and crowned with an enormous yellow beak. Alex's pupils shrank. He recognized it instantly. Polyper. The evolved form of Wingull, water, and flying type. And the moment Polyper appeared, a mysterious force surged outward from its body. Dark clouds rapidly gathered above the battlefield, spreading unnaturally fast. The next second, rain poured down in torrents. "Drizzle, huh?" Alex chuckled softly. "So you really did take my advice seriously. But don't think this will be easy. Magby, use Smog. Polyper, Water Pulse." The commands rang out simultaneously. Both Pokémon moved at once. Magby locked its gaze onto Polyper hovering above and spat out a thick cloud of murky purple gas. Polyper's body surged with deep blue water energy. The condensed water vibrated violently, releasing powerful shockwaves that surged forward. The water pulse tore straight through the poisonous mist, dispersing it instantly before slamming into Magby's body. "Magby!" Magby cried out as its small body was sent flying backward, tumbling across the battlefield. Alex's eyes widened. Derek didn't give him even a second to breathe. "Polyper, Water Pulse again. Magby, hang on. Dodge it, now." Alex reacted immediately. But it was already too late. The second Water Pulse struck true. The impact blasted Magby backward, its body skidding to a stop as it collapsed onto the ground. "Magby is unable to battle," the referee declared. "The first round goes to the challenger, Derek." Alex's expression turned serious. "So strong." He stared at the boy across from him. In just a few short days, Derek's strength had risen to this level. A sudden thought crossed Alex's mind. Was this kid a natural-born trainer? But Alex quickly shook his head. No, so what if he was a genius? Magby was only a Pokémon he had recently captured. That loss didn't represent his true strength at all. "All right, Derek," Alex said, his expression sharpening. "I'm not holding back anymore." A flash of white light erupted as he released his starter Pokémon, his strongest partner. Imbor landed heavily on the battlefield. Even under the pouring rain, its towering, muscular suggestive power only grew more imposing, steam rising faintly from its body as water slid off its burning frame. The second round was about to begin. Kingdom Calendar, Year 151, mid-July. Within the royal castle, Lucian received news that the overseas exploration fleet was fully prepared. A messenger reported in detail, the fleet consisted of 16 steam-powered giant ships. Each vessel carried 80 sailors, along with a first mate and second mate.
In addition, there were chefs, maintenance workers, barbers, and other essential personnel aboard. Every sailor was partnered with 2 Pokémon, 1 flying type and 1 water type. The cargo holds of the ships were filled with honey, cheese, coffee, carpets, and other high-quality goods. These would serve as gifts or trade commodities during the Great Voyage. Your Majesty, Elif reported, the fleet departed yesterday. Lucien nodded lightly, showing he already understood. However, Elif's expression carried a hint of unease. Lucien noticed at once. What is it, Elif? Your Majesty. She hesitated. I'm only worried that if the fleet passes through barbarian territories, the wealth aboard may become a target. Lucien smiled faintly. There's no need to worry. I've already made arrangements. If we encounter those with malicious intent, the navy stationed on the ships is not something they can treat lightly. We are going forth in the spirit of friendly exchange, but that does not mean we will allow ourselves to be preyed upon. Elif finally let out a breath of relief. Your Majesty is wise. Lucien turned toward the window, gazing at the vast, boundless sky beyond. Which land would the fleet reach first? Hijui? Alola? Kalos? Galar? Hoenn? Or perhaps Paldea? For now, even he could not know. The fleet would not return to Unova until at least next year, or perhaps the year after. Regardless, Lucien set himself a modest initial goal. To bring those rare and precious Pokémon, those that would one day stand on the brink of extinction, their numbers dwindling to almost nothing, into the Unova region, and protect them. Whether now, or thousands of years in the future. Lucien would build Unova into a sacred land, a true holy ground belonging to trainers. Chapter 219, Death and Love. Time hurried on, its footsteps never pausing. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 10th month of the 151st year of the Kingdom calendar. This marked the 4th year since Lucien had arrived in this world. The Unova region had undergone earth-shaking changes. Under the sustained efforts of Lucien and countless others, the ignorant and outdated systems of the past were steadily being overturned. Even the mindset of the populace was slowly but unmistakably changing. Humans and Pokémon were beginning to truly integrate. Although conflicts and friction were inevitable during this process, in the end, through continuous effort from the human side, many wild Pokémon were willing to put aside hostility and attempt peaceful contact with humans. Over the course of a year, Lucien had mobilized the strength of the entire nation. With the cooperation of mayors across the region, Pokémon centers had been constructed throughout Unova. Even the most remote villages now possessed a familiar sight, a classic building with white walls and a red roof. Next, Lucien thought quietly, we just wait for trainers from all over to collect their gym badges and gather in Lucien City for the final grand event. If no accidents occurred. Then by next spring, another group of youths would reach the age of 16. They, too, would receive their starter Pokémon from the Trainer Association and begin their journeys. It was just that. Lucien didn't know how those trainers were faring. As that thought lingered, the door suddenly opened. Your Majesty! Lucien turned instantly. The moment he saw the grave expression on Elif's face, his heart sank. The vague sense of unease he had carried for so long finally surged to the surface. What is it, Elif? Reporting, Your Majesty, Elif said solemnly. Messages have arrived from trainer associations across the regions. As of now, nearly 100 trainers traveling outside their hometowns have lost contact. A quiet certainty rose in Lucien's chest. So this day had finally come. Traveling through the wild was inherently dangerous. Even in the peaceful, highly developed world thousands of years in the future, trainers going missing was far from rare. Deaths were not uncommon. Natural disasters. Powerful wild Pokémon. Unexpected accidents. And Unova was still in the early stages of integration. This was, to some extent, unavoidable. Lucien closed his eyes, took a slow breath, and asked calmly. Have search operations been conducted? Yes, Elif replied.
According to reports from the trainer associations and local police, large-scale search teams have already been dispatched into the wild. Some missing trainers were successfully rescued. But many bodies were also discovered. Her voice lowered. Some died while protecting their Pokémon. Others were killed by wild Pokémon attacks. According to intelligence reports, in several cases, Pokémon remained beside their deceased trainers for a long time, unwilling to leave. Elif's words fell heavily into the silence. Lucien felt a weight pressed down on his chest. If he were merely an ordinary citizen, this might have been just another tragic piece of news, heard, mourned briefly, and forgotten. But he was not. As the ruler of a nation, he had to respond. He had to provide answers to the people who had placed their trust in him. Elif. Lucien fell silent for a moment. Seeing this, Elif hesitated before speaking again. Your Majesty, you have already done extraordinarily well. These tragedies are unavoidable. Even before you ascended the throne, countless commoners died every year due to Pokémon attacks. And thanks to your reforms, casualty numbers over the past 2 years have dropped dramatically. Even now, among the thousands of trainers who have set out, only a small fraction have lost their lives. I know, Lucien said softly. I'm simply saddened by the sacrifices of my people. Your Majesty. But grief alone is not enough. Lucien opened his eyes, clarity returning to his gaze. There are more urgent matters before us. After a brief pause, he spoke with quiet resolve. From this point forward, we must reduce casualties as much as possible. We must make trainers stronger and improve their ability to survive in the wild. Publish the names of the fallen in the newspapers. They are warriors who gave their lives for the kingdom. And send personnel to console their families. Draw funds from the national treasury and issue consolation payments to their relatives. Yes, Your Majesty, Elif said, nodding firmly. I will see to it at once. With that, she turned and hurried out of the chamber. Soon, only Lucien and his Pokémon remained in the bedchamber. Aru? Sensing the heaviness in Lucien's expression, Dragonite and Volcarona stepped forward together, one on each side, staying close as if to offer silent comfort. Superior watched from a short distance. It did not approach, but its calm gaze held a faint trace of concern. Kiram looked at Lucien quietly. It did nothing, because it didn't need to. Lucien's resolve, his compassion, and the choices he had already made were all clear to it. Some understandings required no words. I'm fine, Lucien said with a gentle smile as he reached out and patted Dragonite and Volcarona on the head. Then he turned his gaze toward the sky beyond the window, his voice tinged with reflection. I was just thinking what those Pokémon must have felt, watching their trainers die right in front of them. The Pokémon chosen by the Trainer Association as starter partners were all gentle by nature, easy to bond with, easy to trust humans. During months of travel, fighting side by side and living together day and night, they would have formed deep, irreplaceable bonds with their trainers. And now, their trainers were gone. Those Pokémon must have been devastated. Lost. Unsure where to go. Lucien knew well that Pokémon treasured emotional bonds more deeply than humans ever could. Some Pokémon would remember their trainers even thousands of years after their deaths, remaining behind to guard places their trainers had once visited, never leaving. Oh whoa! Dragonite and Volcarona couldn't help but imagine that feeling. And just the thought of Lucien dying, of never seeing him again, made Dragonite's chest ache. It was afraid. Deeply afraid. Pokémon expressed emotions honestly and without restraint. Dragonite stepped forward and wrapped its arms around Lucien, hugging him tightly. Lucien felt it immediately. He let out a soft, helpless sigh, then turned and hugged Dragonite back, his hand resting reassuringly against its back. Don't be afraid, he said gently. I'm here, aren't I? And besides, he added with a faint smile, with all of you by my side, and with Kiram protecting me, how could anything happen to me? Oh whoa! Dragonite blinked. It thought about it carefully. That was true.
It was no longer the weak little Dratini from back then. Now, it was a powerful Dragonite, one capable of commanding wind and rain. It would protect Lucian. No matter what. Chapter 220, Pokémon Pokédex. Lucian gently patted Dragonite's head, then couldn't help but let out another quiet sigh. Those Pokémon who had lost their trainers would undoubtedly suffer deep psychological trauma. If nothing changed, many of them would likely never seek out another trainer for the rest of their lives. Just then, footsteps sounded outside the chamber. "Your Majesty Lucian," a guard reported respectfully, "Scholar Derek requests an audience." "Derek?" Lucian paused for a moment, then recalled the matter. He had once provided funding to a man deeply interested in Pokémon ecology, someone who had taken the initiative to study Pokémon and, with Lucian's support, established a research institute dedicated to gathering and analyzing Pokémon-related data. That person was indeed Derek. "Let him in," Lucian said. "Yes, Your Majesty." The guard went to announce him. Shortly afterward, Derek entered under escort. The moment he saw Lucian, excitement lit up his face. "Your Majesty," Derek said eagerly, "I have not failed your trust. Following your instructions, I have organized the information on numerous Pokémon into a Pokédex." Though he was reporting formally, his eyes couldn't help drifting toward Dragonite, Superior, and Volcarona beside Lucian, and then, lingering for just a moment longer, on the Divine Dragon Kyurem. "Oh?" Lucian's interest was immediately piqued. "Let me see." "Yes, Your Majesty." Derek stepped forward and presented the Pokédex with both hands. Lucian took it and opened it. The first entry was the grass-type starter of Unova, Snivy. The information inside was remarkably detailed. Not only was there a clear illustration, but also its type, ability, evolutionary line, learnable moves, and notes on its natural ecology. He flipped through the pages. Tapeg, Oshawott, Patrat, Lillipup. Most were common Pokémon frequently seen around Lucian City, but there were also rarer species that were difficult to encounter nearby. Munna, Sandile, Cofagrigus. What truly caught Lucian's attention, however, was something else entirely. The structure, order, and level of detail within the Pokédex were almost indistinguishable from the one he remembered. Was this the self-correction of history? "You researched all of this yourself?" Lucian asked. "No," Derek replied quickly, shaking his head. "This wasn't my effort alone. Following Your Majesty's guidance, I established cooperative agreements with traveling trainers. Any new Pokémon they capture can be kept at the Research Institute free of charge. In exchange, I'm able to study their ecological data. And when trainers encounter unfamiliar wild Pokémon, they actively help capture them so I can record the species and improve the Pokédex." "I see." Lucian nodded slightly. This is exactly how Professor Oak and others refined the Pokédex in later generations. He looked up at Derek with a faint smile. "You've done excellent work. Thank you for your efforts. Once you complete this Pokédex," Lucian continued, "I will grant you one wish, within the limits of my ability." "What?" Derek's eyes widened instantly, his heart pounding. "A wish, from His Majesty?" Seeing his reaction, Lucian smiled gently. "There's no need to be nervous. Completing the Pokédex is an immensely important undertaking for the trainers of the Unova Kingdom. Its value is immeasurable, and as the one perfecting it, you deserve such a reward." Derek opened his mouth, then straightened and nodded firmly. "Yes, Your Majesty. I will not fail your expectations." A wish. To be honest, Derek didn't feel he lacked anything. He had married his beloved fiancée, established his career in Lucian City, lived comfortably without financial worries, enjoyed good health, and had a harmonious family. And once the Pokédex was completed, his name would be remembered alongside it for generations. By all accounts, he had no regrets in life. Or rather, almost none. Derek couldn't help stealing a glance at the Divine Dragon Kyurem beside Lucian.
If he could one day obtain His Majesty's permission to properly observe the ecology of the divine dragon and include it in the Pokédex, then he truly would have no regrets at all. To realize that wish, he would definitely give it his all.
Go on, Derek, Lucian said gently. Keep up the good work. Derek nodded vigorously, excitement written all over his face. Yes, Your Majesty.
After Derek left, Lucian closed his eyes and quietly sorted through the many matters awaiting him.
At present, the development of the Unova Kingdom had entered a stable phase.
Nobles and merchants from across the land had already witnessed the enormous profits factories could generate. One after another, they joined in, constructing factories, recruiting workers, and expanding production in various regions. Railway workers were busy laying tracks that connected the major cities of Unova. And not long ago, the steam-powered ocean liners had officially begun their voyages. The next step would be to allow all of this development to fully settle, after which new technologies could be unlocked. But before that, there was still one extremely important matter awaiting Lucian's attention. It was now October of the 151st year of the Kingdom calendar.
Next month, the first Pokémon League tournament in the history of the Unova Kingdom would officially begin. By then, trainers who had spent an entire year traveling would gather in Lucian City for the final competition. Thousands of youths had chosen the path of becoming trainers. But among those thousands, how many would truly make it to the end?
According to reports from the intelligence network, very few trainers were able to pass the gym challenges smoothly. Many were discouraged early on, giving up after their first setbacks. They abandoned the dream of becoming trainers and instead chose to settle down in towns, living quietly alongside their Pokémon.
Phew!
Lucian exhaled softly.
I just hope the numbers aren't too low. The 151st year of the Kingdom calendar was drawing to a close.
Trainers who had been traveling for a year quickened their pace, racing to collect the remaining gym badges. Young boys and girls who had endured trials of blood and fire had already undergone tremendous transformations. Compared to a few months ago, they were almost unrecognizable. Several trainers who had already collected all 8 gym badges lifted their gazes toward the distant horizon. There lay the end of their journey. And the stage for the final, grand ceremony. Lucian City. At the entrance to the city, a girl wearing a hat stood still. She looked up at the towering city walls, gazing at a place that felt both familiar and strangely new. A smile curved her lips, one that carried a trace of maturity beneath her youthful features.
He.
Teacher, she murmured softly.
I am back. This time, I'm definitely going to give you a surprise.
Anna turned to look at the Zoroark beside her, her eyes blazing with fighting spirit.
Zoroark, let's take the champion title of this tournament.
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated to a Medieval Pokémon World.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.